Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Today I'm Costume Co. My name is Heidi, as many of you know, and we're doing sort of a Brady Bunch style, frame out here. I'm on the bottom. I don't know who would have been on that on the Brady Bunch, but today we are doing something really different, and I'm so excited about this. And we were just chatting about this. It could potentially be something that we'll do in the long run. So I hope you enjoy it. If you are watching on live, you can leave comments. And at the very end, we're going to take questions and that the panel will be able to answer. And as well, very exciting, my co-moderator, Lindsay Keir, who I'm going to be introducing in one moment, will be giving away a 30-minute consultation from her business, The Costume Consultant. So it will probably be a trivia question. So the main thing here is just to pay attention while you're watching the live stream, and we will probably be bringing something mentioned during the live stream today. So, and if you can't watch it on the live stream, the whole show, it will also be up as a recorded video after we're done. So to start off, I'd like to introduce my co-moderator. I'm so delighted to have her here. We've become fast friends. Her name is Lindsay Keir. She's a costume designer, but she also runs a company called The Costume Consultant. So Lindsay, why don't you just tell everyone about yourself in case they don't know who you are?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Keir, also known as The Costume Consultant. I've worked in the costume industry for about 15 years. And I've worked in almost every position within the department. And lately, I have been assisting on big movies as well as starting to design. About a year and a half ago, I started a business called The Costume Consultant. I found the need in our industry that we really needed support and guidance, as well as a path into working in costumes. So I help people live their dreams and by getting into the costume industry, no matter where they live, as well as support my colleagues that are already working, whether it's negotiating their deals or networking or switching department roles. And I'm here to support them with whatever they need.
We're so glad to have you, Lindsay. And Susan just popped in and out. So sometimes that might happen. You know, it's live. So occasionally someone might lose their signal. So Susan, is everything okay there? You're all right?
Yeah, I'm okay right now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, no worries if it happens again. We'll just go with the flow.
Okay.
So anyway, Lindsay, do you want to start off with the first question?
Sure. I wanted to ask Imogene Chase, who is a concept artist, to tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you got into the industry.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. I've been in this industry riding the roller coaster for about 14 years, but I would say my career really started gaining steam about, I would say, 5 or 6 years ago. I initially wanted to be a costume designer, and that's what I went to college for at FITM. And along the way, we had, some minimal illustration classes, and I really took a shine to them. But as soon as I was graduated, I sort of was moving in both directions as a concept art, or I would say as an illustrator as opposed to a concept artist at first, and trying to pay my dues working on very low budget costume design projects. And what led me to stick with the concept art path was I was able to work as an illustrator on relatively mainstream projects. So I got to see the actual day-to-day of these costume designers that I was aspiring to be like. And I eventually decided that didn't seem for me. So I stuck with the path of being a concept artist, and the rest is history, I guess.
Great. And then,
so go ahead.
Yeah, we want to go to Susan next.
I'm gonna move her here.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm based out of Los Angeles. Some of you may know I made the career switch to the costume world pretty late in life. I was 35, and I finally knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I went back to school at City College because I didn't want to spend, a fortune after having already gone to college and graduate school in a different field. I started, like Imogene, working on low budget and student films, not making any money on that. And I knew a change had to happen. And Lindsay was really great. She met with me for kind of an informational interview. And I guess she saw that maybe there was something in me that would succeed. And she introduced me to other members of the film and TV community. Once I became a PA, some of the designers realized that I had a real interest in textiles and would ask, specializing in that area, although I do enjoy other areas of costuming as well.
Okay, and let's go to
who?
Ben.
Oh, okay, that's me. All right, I didn't hear you. So hi, my name is Ben Walsh. I have been working in the film industry for about 8 years, but I have been in costuming, costume construction for, about 12 now. I work as a cutter fitter, so that means that I'm the person that takes actors' measurements and designers' ideas and turn them into physical reality. So I'll do the ones that are, I'll create patterns and we'll build the base garments. So I got into sewing as just a hobby sewer. It was something that I picked up when I did like regional theater in high school. And I was just wanted to help out my my director. And so she taught me how to sew. I went off to college and I thought I was going to be a musician. And turns out I was not going to be a musician. I was so I started sewing in the theater costume shops as my work study position. And from there, our shop manager kind of took me in and she was like, you're gonna do this the whole time. This is what you really need to be doing. And so from that, I trickled into my version of low budget, which was theater, ballet, and opera. And that's where I really kind of picked up the skills and learned what it really meant to do costuming as a career. And about 8 years ago, my friends brought me to Atlanta, which is where I am currently. And I jumped into the film industry and we haven't stopped since.
Okay, let's go to Jeff.
Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm a shoemaker based in Toronto, Canada. I've been working in the arts and the creative industry since I was a teenager, so it's like 35 years. Started in theater and used to do a little bit everything from driving trucks to rigging to carpentry to sound and lighting and stuff like that. Eventually, many years later, got into design, studied design, worked briefly as a professional designer, realized it wasn't for me. And quite by fluke, like 25 years ago, fell into shoes. And it was something, in those days I was really poor, so it was something I started doing just to make money, and then realized quite quickly it was something that I was really interested in because it kind of combined a little bit of everything. There's certainly a lot of carpentry and props work and costuming work and metal work and all this, all included in shoes, patterning, designing, all that type of stuff. And ends up I was pretty good at it too, so I stuck with it. About 19 years ago, I started this business called Jitterbug Boy, Original Footwear in Toronto. Started mostly doing circus and theater stuff because that was my background at the time. Eventually evolved into doing more film work, and for the past many years I've been doing exclusively film TV work out of my shop in Toronto. I've had a in-house crew anywhere from like 21 maximum, usually around 12. Right now we're in a transition, so it's quite a bit smaller, but we do shows all over the world and all out of this shop in Toronto and just send them off. And yeah, it's been going pretty well so far. So that's what I do.
Great. And Samantha?
Hello, my name is Samantha Dewey Gartner, and I am what they call many things: a breakdown artist, a textile artist, a patina artist. I am the one who gets the fabric or the costumes at the end of it, and I am the one who makes it realistic looking. So if stuff is store-bought, I break it in and I make it look like they've worn it for a very long time. I also deal with a lot of the fabrics that come in if the designer would like them to be a certain color, and a lot of the time it's a very certain color. I'm the one who dyes that and keeps going back and forth until they have the exact color that they would like. I was really lucky to get into this. I went to school for art and I found a passion that I was able to make money from. I airbrush, I dye, I work with colors. So I like to call my shop like the arts and crafts. And it's again stressful, just like everyone else's shop. And I've worked with Imogene and Ben before. So, you know, it's good times, but it's also stressful. And, you know, we have a good time doing it, but I'm the one essentially who's in charge of making everything look okay by the end of it, making it look believable.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Samantha, one of the things I didn't even think about is that Lindsay brought up is that even like Jeff, when your shoes go to set, go to production, Samantha is likely doing some breakdown on top of that, right? So she does.
Definitely.
You do head to toe.
Head to toe, except
Head
for
to
when
toe.
it touches their skin. That's not my territory.
Exactly. I just put a message in the chat. We have a very quiet chat today, but hey guys, anyone watching this, let us know where you are in the world. Like put it in the chat. We'd love to know. So Lindsay, the next question, do you want me to tackle that or would you like to do it?
Go for it.
Okay. I will go around with you guys. Maybe what I'll do is I'll go in reverse order. How's that sound? So, so like if you meet like the average person, how do you explain to them in just a, a brief amount of time, what it is that you do for a living? Because, when you say I work in costumes, people probably think you're the costume designer, right? Is that what happens? Okay. So Samantha, why don't I start with you? Why don't you tell like your little elevator pitch speech that you usually give to people when you meet them? Probably drives you crazy, by the way.
It's an interesting one because I get called so many names, and one of them is ager dyer, which is like the most complicated thing to explain to people. But essentially, it's aging and dyeing costumes. I work with the fabrics, is what I say. I work with the leather. I work with the cotton or the satin, anything that's involved with the costume, the textiles. I work with that.
Sorry, I have myself muted. We've got people from Toledo, the DC area, Connecticut, Los Angeles. So far, that's where we have people coming from. Very cool. So I will next go to Jeff. Is that okay? Go to you next? Okay, great.
Yeah, I guess mine's fairly easy because it's fairly tangible. I make shoes for film and TV. So usually people, when I say that, are quite surprised to the extent that the industry needs footwear, but obviously anyone working in the business knows it's everything from superheroes, we do a lot, to period stuff, and often contemporary, just stunt heavy type of things. Anything that can't be bought off the shelf, they tend to come to me in my business to do. So it's fairly easy to explain, I think, compared to a lot of other things, but that's what we do.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people would think they just go down to, the mall.
Yeah, superheroes are us.
Superheroes are us. Exactly.
Go buy superhero boots from JCPenney.
Yeah.
And then they spray paint them or something. All right. So Ben, I'm very familiar with what you do, but how do you explain it to people what you do?
Well, actually, what you said kind of hits it on the head. So many people just instantly say, "Oh, you're a costume designer." And I have to describe to them that I'm not the designer. I'm the one that creates the physical garments. So the designer is the one that conceptualizes everything and tells me what it is that we need to have made. And then I'm the one that actually puts the fabric together to create a garment. So I think pretty in and out, that's about as fast as I can say it.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have a background in theater as well. So I have mad props to you because it's very difficult business starting out in that. Hey, we also have people. Did I mention Atlanta, Chicago, Douglasville, Georgia? Very cool. This is so great. I love having people from all over. Okay. So I'm going to go to Susan next. How about you?
Sure. So I'm a textile buyer, and the way I have to don't really understand what I do is she just thinks, okay, well, wouldn't your job just last a day? Because don't you just pick out what the designer wants and buy one thing? Different options from all around the world. So I source samples for the designer, either in town or from abroad, and I kind of edit what's available based on the costume concept, which she might be working on with Imaging, concept illustrators like Imaging. And so I bring those options after I edit what I think might be appropriate for a costume, show it to the designer, and then we might buy sample fabric and materials and start going from there. This thing from woven fabrics, knit fabrics, rubbers. We've worked with a knitting factory before for knit textiles, pleated fabrics with the pleater. And I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting, but that's kind of what I do. So I present them to the designer. Like Jeff on what materials they think are best for a particular costume piece. And I work with them to make sure they get what they need and help project manage sometimes.
Those are all excellent answers. I actually, Imaging, I am going to admit to you that I didn't know when I first started doing my channel about 6 years ago that there was such a thing as a costume concept artist.
Yeah, we're very rare.
Yeah, I knew Ralph McQuarrie, you know, Star Wars, like I knew, you know, kind of that type of thing, like, you know, high level, but it wasn't until like, you know, I knew who Ryan Meinerding was, that type of thing. So why don't you tell everybody about what you do? Which is so
okay. Well, I like you mentioned, I'm a concept artist / costume illustrator, and what that means is I basically am brought onto a project very early on with the costume designer, and I basically make the art, usually digitally, that's meant to be shown to the producers, directors, studios in order to get costume designs approved before designs are passed down the pipeline to be built. And so, yeah, I mentioned that I'm a concept artist / illustrator, and those are two slightly different things. So when I'm working as a costume illustrator, that means that the designer basically has the design worked out herself already, and she'll provide things like reference images, rough sketches, fabric swatches with, you know, detailed direction. And it's basically just my job to put it all together into a presentable image, which I usually do in Photoshop. But if I'm brought on as more of a conceptual artist role, I'm there to basically generate ideas for the designer to sort of get, you know, the juices flowing on the project, and we will pare it down from there. And it's sort of, it aids the designer in her design process, his or her design process. Sorry.
By the way, I have a few other people who are from other parts of the world. We have someone from Ukraine and someone from Dubai. Very cool, guys. Thanks so much for attending today. So all great answers. Lindsay, I'm going to turn it over to you to do the next question, if that's okay.
Sure. So I think we're gonna do this like popcorn style, and so whoever would like to jump in and answer the rest of the questions would be great. So what is something about your job that people might be surprised to learn? And be anything.
Well, I would say that the fact that my job exists at all is something that people are often surprised when I say what I do for a living. Obviously, talking about people outside of the business, they don't realize that everything.
I think we lost him.
I think we lost Samantha. Jeff, oh, there she is. Okay.
Jeff, sorry, do you want to finish up, Jeff?
Yeah, no, so I'm just, so yeah, it's just the fact that people don't realize that pretty much every film with a certain budget requires footwear for whatever reason. So people, it's great at a party because people are always really fascinated the fact that this job even exists, where all of us obviously realize it has to. But, yeah.
I was going to say, and Jeff might be the one exception that he actually wears his own products. Well, I could be wrong. Maybe you all do.
And I think a great thing about what we do
from some materials.
And also, I would like to say Ben has made me some shirts as well. So I do wear some of Ben's products.
Sorry,
okay,
Samantha.
Sam.
You go. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was just saying the greatest thing about the costume department is when you watch it in a film, you watch the movie, is that you don't think about it. Everything looks like it should. So if you're thinking about, oh, that shirt looks too new, that, that stuff looks weird, that shoe looks weird, like it takes away from the film. So if you watch a film completely and you never think about the costumes, then it's great.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because a lot of the point of all of us is to be invisible in what we do. You don't want to notice the shoes or the breakdown or the cut of a garment, because if you're noticing that, you've probably done something wrong.
Not done it right, yeah.
Exactly. So our main goal is to not get noticed, really, in a way.
Yeah. We're invisible.
And I would like to say something actually too, and it's in regards to breakdown. So I worked on a movie that the main actor wore the same costume the whole day, or it was a one day it was a film that took place over one day, right? So the main character was in one costume, but we had 80 versions of the costume because, He got shot, he got stabbed, he was in harnesses, all the different things. And that usually how luck goes is that we start with the end of the film first. So we shoot, the most bloodiest version of the costume. Well, then when we start filming the rest of the movie and they really sort out the choreography of the fights, sometimes, even though we establish that they got stabbed on the right side of their body, the choreography changes and they decided that they're going to stab him on the left side of his body. So now the continuity doesn't really match, and we did our best. And some people troll us, some people at it and watch it and comment. Some people don't realize it. But there's just a lot of things that are out of our hands, and we do the best that we can and get things on camera and with the information we do. But our projects, as it goes along, it's like an evolving animal. And so by the end, it sometimes is completely different than how we started.
It is completely. I mean, we do breakdowns and they only get us so far. Everything changes on a daily basis. And that's why we make costumes, especially a movie that takes place in one day, or they're wearing a costume that goes for a long period of time within the movie. There's probably 10 stages that go into that costume. We're aging it, we're distressing it in a way that it's more and more and more and more. So that depending on the scene, they're going to put on one that makes more sense for what's going on in the film, especially when they get stabbed, because a lot of the blood work is set in their costumes. They're not actually stabbing the actors.
Right. So that means that the actor puts on a shirt that is already pre-bloodied, And depending on where the stage of blood they are, so if they've been wearing a shirt for a couple hours and the blood had happened earlier, the blood might be a different color, it might be crusty. Exactly. And then when they do the actual stabbing, they'll put on a shirt that already has like, you know, potentially a hole in it. Yeah, and then the on-set costumer will apply the blood in real time.
Sometimes.
Yes. And then sometimes
I just have one comment. When I watch a movie, I always notice the costumes. That's just a joke.
Which is good. They're good.
Actually, Samantha, to what you're saying, I absolutely agree. There are many times, especially on a contemporary film, I don't even notice the costumes. I can sit back and enjoy it. It's kind of like, I think it's kind of like if you're a chef and you own a restaurant and you're a chef, and then but you can't eat anyone else's food because all you can do is dissect it. So sometimes it's just nice to be able to eat something and be able to enjoy it. Does that make sense?
Smooth. It's smooth, you know.
And
Imogene, did you want to say anything? We don't want to put you on the spot.
Oh, it's all good. So something that people be surprised by, I would say how working in film is so not glamorous at all. People ask me all the time if I get to meet the actors, you know, stuff like that. I'm like, no, I'm trapped in a box all day at home because I work remotely. And you know, people in my position, you know, we're on the project very early. So once the ball really gets moving with production and filming, we're usually moving on to the next thing. So experiencing the things like premieres and all the sort of glamorous aspects is not something that most of the crew gets to experience, maybe occasionally. I mean, speaking for myself. So yeah, that's something I would think would be surprising.
All right. Heidi, you want to go to the next question?
Sure. By the way, all really amazing answers. I'll probably be saying that throughout this whole thing. So, and again, popcorn style, if anyone wants to answer this or not answer it. To you, how has the business changed since you first started working in the costume industry?
I'll go. Sorry.
I'll go.
Right around when I was starting out, digital illustration was very, very new. There were maybe, I would say 3 to 4 illustrators out there that were taking advantage of the fact that we could illustrate digitally now, because before that, it was all done by hand on paper with pencil and watercolors, and that was sort of the norm. And the people that worked in that way had to sort of relearn how to do costume illustration digitally to keep up with these newer members of the guild. We have to be part of a guild, who were using things like Photoshop to create illustrations. And the way that has changed that is digital illustration is completely the norm. And now, or for a while now, artists have been moving into 3D to create costume illustration. That's something I'm personally still keeping up with. Like, I haven't really embraced 3D yet. And it just, the technology just keeps evolving. Like, you can also create art in VR. And now we're dealing with AI, which is, you know, a whole other subject in and of itself. So yeah, it's changing a lot.
And you're even like, oh, Ben, go, please.
No, that was Jeff. Go for it.
Oh, sorry.
One of the other things that I've certainly noticed changing is the requirements, the physical requirements of costumes as the kind of the popular style of film has evolved. Where I started doing film work kind of at the beginning of the superhero boom, and with every project, things were being pushed. I'm sure all the other makers know this as well. What the physical requirements were, what the stunt stuff started to be, and every show kind of evolved from that, not just in the superhero genre, but you look at, anything with some action, from like the Fast and Furious to the Mission Impossibles to just like a fairy tale thing, there is a very strong change in the physicality of what actors do now compared to 15 years ago, and the requirements.
What their stuntmen do.
It depends on who it is. Mostly the stuntmen, often.
Yeah, exactly.
Often, but yeah, what is being asked of us goes beyond, because people, actors, stuntmen, choreographers, stunt coordinators are all being pushed for something more and more spectacular, because that's, at least for that side of the film world, is something that has been really evolving in the past 15 years.
Definitely. You have to be able to make things that are stunt appropriate. So I do a lot of 3D printing for shows as well. And I have to use TPU, a flexible fabric, a flexible filament that's able to be used with stunts, when a lot of the other stuff is built with much more sturdier, filaments. But there's so much action that goes on in films now, and so many crazy superhero costumes that then we make one version of, and the rest of it ends up being visual effects, that they need to be very flexible and durable and, like superhero costumes. So it's interesting, the materials that we're now working with, because it's much more rubber based. It's very soft, because there's so much that goes on in these action movies.
I want to kind of parrot something that Jeff just touched on, and that's what has changed in the film industry is the expectation of the viewer. That we've noticed that so much is just getting bigger and bigger. The expectation that everything that you watch is the caliber and quality of a feature film. There's no such thing as like a small episodics. Everything has action. Everything has a superhero costume. Everything is as magnificent and large as possible, because everyone in streaming is trying to outdo one another. So even things that are like what would normally be a small episodic, a quick run, you only have a few days to film each episode, you're still trying to turn out that same quality product that a multi-month feature film has in about a week or two.
Yeah. And also, I would say like technology and what's going on in the world influences what we're doing in real time as well. So, for example, like with cell phones and also all of us relying on our computers so much, things are able to be changed very quickly. And unfortunately, it comes from the top down. And so when the producers or the writers or the directors want to change something, it happens a lot quicker now than it used to. We used to have a little bit more of a set schedule. We knew it was coming up. Now they're rewriting things constantly, maybe because something happened in the news or someone that we were going to cast got canceled, and so now they're going to recast, and maybe they're reevaluating like what that role was. So from like a design standpoint, like at the very beginning, things are constantly changing, and they change very quickly. And unfortunately, the trickle-down effect is that it affects everybody that's on this Zoom, except for Heidi, no offense. But like from the creative standpoint, it affects all of us because it makes us pivot, and we might be working on something and rushing to get that done, and then we have to abandon it and turn and start something completely new that they need like the next morning.
Very true. And one other major change I would say in recent years is the introduction of high definition from home, where suddenly everything, because it used to be TV was a different finish quality than say film, because you're seeing it this big instead of 10 meters long or whatever. But now with the
streaming
high definition, yeah, everything has to be done to cinematic quality right now, which is, again, just something in the past, 10 years or whatever, because if something is off on a high def television, you're going to see it, even if it's like a little streaming show or whatever. it's going to show up, where before it didn't with TV.
Yeah, in theater, we just tell people to walk really fast. So you don't see the details.
Well, yeah.
Just,
Now
you know,
everything is so intense that you can't escape anything. And you can even go to high definition, like what they did with The Hobbit all those years ago, where it just destroys everything. Any believability that you have for the film is gone. So that's why it's important to kind of disappear.
Susan, did you want to talk about this a bit? Because like one of the things I love doing, this is one of my favorite things on my channel, is just I love zooming in on the pictures and looking at the fabrics and finding where the fabrics are from. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, you mean about technology or change
Yeah, like, you know, because I think you're getting into some newer technologies. I think it was Lindsay shared with me some of your, you know, more contemporary, like 3D printing and that type of thing.
Yeah, we work a lot with a few graphic artists here in town. Actually, and some of them are so well known, but with the technology that's evolved and the ability to get really refined detail in graphic artistry, you're able to create a lot of fabrics from scratch. One of the graphic artists, he does such fine quality work that it can be printed in layers and have a 3D effect, even though it's just one fabric that's printed on in layers or worked with in different layers. Like for Shang-Chi, we actually started with like a spandex that had some shine to it. But then after that, the graphic artist created a layer to be sublimated onto it, then screen printed for some raised texture. And then there were actually some, I wouldn't just breakdown artists, because someone like Samantha actually does more than just that. The Ager Dyers actually painted on the scales for his costume so that they kind of looked shiny and picked up some light. And so the technology is really evolved that way, where a graphic design can be realized in great detail because of what's available.
We're able to print on fabric now, which is something that's very new. So it's actually quite impressive. I mean, that's the technology and also learning how to do it. Like 3D designs within the computer are a different beast than being able to print on fabric. That's about logistics. And then, you know, everything else is code. You know, and there's good programs that you use, and it's difficult to learn Maya and all of those, but essentially when you get going with it, then you're able to print it and you're able to figure out what can be printed on fabric, what kind of filaments you want to work with. And it's really cool because essentially it's going to take over screen printing.
I actually, Lindsay, I realized it kind of moved into the next question. Did you want to go to the next? Do you want to do the next question?
Which is great. It's beautiful the way this happened. Sure. Let's get into what is a piece of advice you can offer to someone that is just starting out or might be interested in getting into costumes?
Something that I've often said to people when asked that exact question is the best advice I would give is the film world is incredibly small, and you're probably only ever going to get a single chance to make, you know, what's the cheesy saying? You get one chance to make your first impression. I've met far too many people who were distracted by the glamour of it all and not on their work, on their ability to do something. And as a result, they end up screwing themselves because they make themselves much bigger than what they're able to deliver. And it's all right to be humble a little bit. Wait, give yourself another year before you pursue this thing, because you need to work on your abilities. You know, film can be really fun and a great family. It can also be really cutthroat, and your reputation can be affected really quickly. And you don't want to be thought of the person that couldn't deliver this thing that they said they could. So I'm a firm believer in honing my skills rather than being, a big braggart saying, I can do this, I can do that, I can do anything. It's like, yeah, now I can probably do anything. If I'd said that 10 years ago, I probably would have just shot myself in the foot because people would have expected everything and I couldn't have delivered 10 years ago what I can now because, I didn't let the ego get in the way. There's a big difference between being arrogant and being confident, and do what you can yourself that you're able to be confident, never be arrogant, because that'll bite you in the ass every time.
I would love to piggyback off that because it absolutely pertains to someone in my position or aspiring illustrators as well. One of the big mistakes I've been seeing recently, actually, with a lot of our newer members of our little tiny illustration world, is that they're not leading with their work. Like the best piece of advice I can give them is to just make sure that your work is always the best thing you're putting out into the world, because it actually is the only thing you can control. Like the mistake I've been seeing is that instead of leading with their portfolio, they're leading with the social aspect, like they're which is, also very helpful, but you can meet all the costume designers you want. You can try and communicate with your fellow artists and, get to know them, and that's great, but you could never control whether or not any of those people are going to hire you or recommend you for a job. Like, for instance, what's great about my little illustrator community is that, once you're sort of in with the group, that's how you get most of the jobs. Like, we recommend each other for things that maybe we have to pass on. That's how I got a bunch of my jobs, and a bunch of my friends as well. But if you start with the social aspect and then later on you can't deliver because your portfolio doesn't hold up, like you said, you'll fall on your face. So I always say, make sure you're doing the best work that you can and basically make yourself undeniable, because I believe in the saying that the cream rises to the top. And yeah, that's what I would hope.
Work well with everybody. Yes. Work well with everybody.
Totally.
I mean, Imogene, you did the illustrations originally for Uncharted. Yes. And then I went and painted those costumes, and it was great. It was great having what Marlene told you, like in picture form, so then I could go off that. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing how each different aspect of costumes just leads into another one, and how we all work cohesively, hopefully.
Yeah, and I also want to say, you're not going to learn everything in a year, right? I've been doing this for 16 years, and there's such the culture right now is that everybody wants everything right now, but you're not going to learn everything right now. It takes time. I've done so many different jobs, did so many different TV projects, commercials, movies, styling, in all different positions. I've worked with so many different people. I've learned so many things. People have different ways of doing things on every job. So, just be willing to learn, be in it for the long game, like trying to be a costume designer tomorrow. It's a great goal, but you have to work towards it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely want to say that never stop learning is probably the most important thing here. Because kind of like what Jeff said, confidence can kind of be your downfall in a sense that it prevents you from learning more. I work usually with a team of stitchers, like 3 or 4 or 5 people that work underneath me to actually physically build the garments. And I usually find overconfidence as a red flag, because that isn't really... I don't need you to tell me that you can make something. I need you to just make something. If you are telling me that you can build anything under the sun, why are you talking so loud, I guess is what it is. It should be, go ahead and do it. Show me what you can do. And kind of what Imogen was saying, it's like, show, don't tell somebody. Show somebody that you're capable of doing it. Don't tell them, because that's what's believable.
Totally. I would say one of my biggest flaws and one of my assets maybe is that I almost hate everything I do. I'm never.
You're very good. Don't hate
No,
your stuff.
I'm
You're very
always
good.
looking. Well, thank you. But I'm constantly looking at my work and asking how I can make it better. Like how could I don't like how can I make this better? This can be
Because
this can be better. This can always be better.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about being a creative person. Like I don't know, in the past 19 years, I've probably made like 50,000 pairs of shoes out of my shop. I've yet to finish one that I'm 100% happy with, because I think that's part of what we all experience is, okay, this is great. Yes, this is, this is beyond what has ever been done before, but it could have been better. Imagine if we had more time, if we had a bit more money, if we had another week, which never happens.
That's always how I think. I'm like, I could keep going forever, like just that's why we have deadlines.
Yeah, we're all perfectionists and we would take years, but yeah.
Exactly.
It has to sometimes just be good enough.
Yeah, especially
Jeff,
if we're making, 15 of them.
Yeah. Susan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Jeff is following his advice of being humble a little bit too much, because everything I've ever seen him produce is amazing. It always looks perfect to me. And I will echo that again. Being humble is very key to having success in this career. You can learn something from everybody. One of the things I wanted to say that might surprise people about this particular part of filmmaking is it really is a lot of people. It's a whole team. It's not just the designer. It's a lot of people. And being humble and learning from everybody, even if they're not in your position, will help a lot. Another thing that I wanted to inspire people with is it's never too late. I was the 40-year-old PA starting a career from scratch, and it happened for me. Other advice to give: be an adult about feedback. Don't feel like it's something bad to receive constructive criticism. It's just information. It's not a reflection of you as a person. If someone offers something really helpful about an opportunity for improvement, decide for yourself whether it is good or bad. It's just information. Try not to take things too. Finally, always say thank you. I don't think you can ever say thank you enough. And try to pay it forward. Lindsay helped me a lot in the beginning of my career, and I have tried to pay it forward, and I can't thank her enough for introducing me to the people who ended up hiring me.
And I mean, Susan, you were so wonderful. Susan found me on the internet, and we met for coffee, and I remember her telling me she was in school, that she was a lawyer, and that she went back to school. Costume design was her passion, and she didn't know if she should finish school or try to get into industry. And I said, Susan, you're a lawyer. I think you've done enough schooling. And obviously I think school is very important. It's a great foundation, but Susan is she is a responsible human being. She is creative, and she's got a wonderful personality. I knew that she was going to succeed. And going back to what you said, Susan, about, constructive criticism, Susan used to ask me after we finished jobs, and she would ask me, hey, is there anything else that I could have done better? Is there anything that you can tell me, that I can take forward on my next job? And her and this other person that I was helping at the time, Austin Wick, was doing the same thing. Austin just won an Emmy, by the way, as an ACD on Beef. And it's just so wonderful seeing these people succeed and want to do the best and learn as much as possible and take it on to the next job. And yes, we are all part of a team. We're all teammates, everybody here. And you have to be a good team player. You have to show up. You try not to let your teammates down, because when there's weak links in the team, it really affects other people. So everybody is at different points in their career and learning and all the things. But if you are willing to learn and you're kind and responsible and want to be there and want to show up, then you're going to succeed.
I was going to just say that Helen, who won the costume design award for Beef, she was part of our costume designer diaries series that I did with Lindsay. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put a link to that in the description for you guys to check it out if you want to. So we're getting near the end. And what I was going to ask is if anybody in the chat has any questions for the panel. It can be anything. We're going to do like, I don't know, rapid fire. What do you call it? But in the meantime, Lindsay, what do you think? Do you either want to do the last question or do you want to do a giveaway? What would you prefer?
Let's do the giveaway.
Sorry, what's that?
Let's do the giveaway.
Okay, great. So do you want to tell everybody a bit about it?
Sure. So with the costume consultant, I am a coach and a mentor, and I usually offer 10-minute free discovery calls to kind of discuss like what you want to work on or what you're looking to do, how I can help you, how I can support. But the giveaway today is going to be 30 minutes of time together where we can dive in a little bit deeper. Using the discovery call, it's a very general conversation, very surface. We don't usually get into details, but 30 minutes, we can discuss a little bit further what you want to work on or what you're looking to do. So today, that's what we're going to give away.
Yes. And so the first thing I was going to say is, so we're going to I think we're going to do a trivia question, but what I am asking is if this is something that you're not really, you have no interest in going to costuming, or I would prefer to leave that spot open for someone who genuinely is interested in costuming, is interested in exploring it, and would potentially be interested in having using Lindsay's service. So I hope that makes sense. I just don't want to take a spot from someone else. So, Lindsay, do you have a question you want to ask, and then we'll see whoever responds to it?
Yes, and I just want to let you know Susan needs to be let back in.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Susan. You know what happens? It kind of like when there's an additional person, it goes to the bottom and I don't see it. And it usually goes bing when someone joins. But anyway, technical difficulties. Thanks, Mary.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Mary. Mary and I just worked together recently, and she's in Atlanta. She did a great job, her homework, and I'm so excited to see what happens with her next. Okay, a question. I'm not quite sure. Does anybody guess what is one of the new technologies that we've been using that was discussed today?
3D printing.
Samantha, you're not supposed to answer. Samantha,
I'm allowed
no.
to give advice.
Samantha's trying to do a 30-minute call. That's what Samantha's trying to do.
They're paying me.
Fair game, Samantha, fair game.
So should we ask another question?
Sure.
Sorry.
I can ask a question. It's very simple. Where are Jeff and I coming from today? Like, I'll say city. What city are we coming from today?
Okay. And somebody has a question in the chat.
Oh yeah. Okay. This is my friend Mark.
Anyone have a story of unbelievable luck that got you through? Oh my goodness. I mean, I know we all have stories, but if anybody can remember one right now, go for it.
God, like every single gig involves a certain amount of luck. Whether something works out, whether you take a major gamble on a decision, it works out, or just the fact that you end up getting the gig to begin with, it's often a lot of luck.
By the way, we have someone who got the answer right, Danielle. Reinhardt got the answer right. Congratulations, Danielle. Does anyone know Danielle?
I do.
Oh, you do? Oh, amazing. Okay, so Danielle, you win a 30-minute consultation with Lindsay. Congratulations. So we'll work that out after. Danielle, you can either message me on Instagram if you follow Lindsay, or you can message Lindsay. We can figure it out. But anyway, congratulations.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I would say, like, going back to the luck thing, I think it's more like being resourceful and being creative in like our job and how we get things done, right? So, for example, if we can't get costumes from LA to Atlanta like overnight on FedEx, we're gonna send somebody on a plane and hand carry them, like things like that. Like, we just come up with ideas of how to get the job done. That is like so much of our work and what we do. Trying to figure out like where the latest FedEx drop off is, trying to figure out different vendors that can help us get certain fabrics overnighted or clothes overnighted, or trying to find other people that understand the same sense of urgency to try to accomplish what we get done. Like, there's days that by 9 o'clock in the morning, I can't believe the amount of work that I've accomplished, starting at like 5 o'clock early that day. The amount of content or the amount of things operating at such a high level, trying to get these shows done. It takes a lot of urgency and commitment.
Yeah, I think on the back of that as well, sorry if I interrupted somebody, but yeah, like, just for those not in the industry that don't understand that we obviously all do, the way that this week has gone for me, and it is a very kind of typical thing. Monday I had a meeting about a new show where they needed me to do a couple of secondary characters. It's like, yeah, no problem. Tuesday there was another character added to the show, so suddenly it's 3. Wednesday morning, I start getting phone calls at 7:30 because something has happened. They actually need something for their leading man. So literally this Thursday, I'm on a plane down to Atlanta with a finished pair of boots that we weren't expecting to do when I woke up Wednesday morning, because that's the only way to get everything done on time and to get it on the actor to make sure the designer is happy. It's like you have to find the way to get it done, and this is the only way to get it done. So
there's another question. Actually, this is a great question for Lindsay. Lindsay, you don't mind me picking on you. Do you have any advice for getting into the field in a new location, new to you, and the location itself is new to the industry?
Yes, the costume consultant. This is why I thecostumeconsultant.com. I have been told for my entire career, and ever since I started, people are still Googling, how do I find costume jobs? There's no direct path. There's not a lot of information out there. You can go to school for costume design, but it's very rare you can go to school for anything that anybody on this panel does every day in their jobs. It's all different. But the costume consultant, if you sign up for a free discovery call, we can talk about, where you're living, how to get connected in the local community. Even if you don't live in one of the major cities that has an industry, there's always theater. There's always something going on that you can get involved with in costumes. So it's not always this like massive scale that what we work on, but you can always find something to get connected and get your career going.
Sorry, I forgot to highlight you there. But anyway, I think people got the message. Thanks so much, Lindsay. But so we're running out of time. So maybe the last thing we should just do is go around and have everyone tell us where they can find you online. Does that sound reasonable, Lindsay?
Yes, I do want to just answer this one last thing. What's
sure.
your favorite thing on your set or in your kit? I wanted to just say really quickly on the costume consultant's Instagram, very early on post, I did a little video of like a basic set bag of like what you can create for your first set bag. But everybody has different favorite things in their kit or their bag, depending on what their job is.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to, just quickly say, we don't have to take too long, but does anybody else want to say what's in their kit? Jeff, you have you used to have a whole studio.
Yeah, no, I still do actually.
Oh, you do? Okay. I have to talk to you about that. Okay.
The one thing that I always recommend to anyone is cyanoacrylate, which is like super glue, crazy glue, because the number of things that you can do in a matter of seconds, obviously I'm usually thinking of things shoe-wise, but if a sole is starting to peel up, you can fix it in 2 seconds. You don't need to send it to a cobbler or something like that. So cyanoacrylate is what I recommend to absolutely everybody. And it's like that big. It can fit in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cyanoacrylate's even better.
Barge is toxic, though. Do you guys still use barge?
Yeah.
With gas masks?
Yeah, we do.
It's these things.
We use a lot of chemical substances that should be. I mean, that's a big thing for me. Like, I make sure, because I do a lot of synthetic dyeing, that my excess dye and water and waste goes to a place that is for chemical waste, which is something that you would think studios would be on top of, but they're not actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's different when you work with cotton dyes. Like, they're not great, but still, with synthetic dyes are meant to dye plastics. So they should have a better system for disposing of chemical waste.
Mm-hmm. Ben, what about you? Is it a tape measure?
I mean, it's absolutely everything. A needle and thread, some top stick, because on set it's already an emergency if it's on set and I'm there.
Yeah. Oh, so do you work on set as well?
No.
Okay.
No. But if Ben gets called to set, it's an emergency.
Oh dear.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
He needs a whole kit with him.
What about you, Susan? Do you have anything that is you have to have in your kit?
Pardon, are you talking to me? Sorry.
Oh, Susan. I think she's frozen then maybe.
Susan. Oh, okay.
Susan.
But I would say top stick and safety pins. Like you can get the things that I have done with top stick and safety pins. I constantly have safety pins in every single pocket of pants, jackets, whatever, in my car. I've got safety pins everywhere. We use them for so many things. So a lot of things that we shouldn't be using safety pins for, but that is probably the number one thing I would say almost everybody on this panel uses constantly.
Yeah. Okay. So is everyone good with that question? And then we'll just go around. Okay. Because I want to say I looked at all of your Instagrams. By the way, they're all gorgeous. So I would highly recommend, I have them in the chat, but where is the place online that you would prefer people find you? You can just tell us, go one at a time. I think we lost Imogene.
Oh yeah, I think she had to pop off.
Yeah, she had to leave.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back. But yes.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Yeah, someone's waiting for me outside.
Okay.
Image is my
jam.
Yeah.
Instagram also, I have mine set up as a shop.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, Instagram, website, both are Jitterbug Boys, the name of the company. Instagram's more interesting. You can get there through my website if you're really curious.
And Jeff is like a frequent poster. Like Jeff, I think you post daily. Like it's crazy how much you do. What about you, Lindsay? I know you have 2 Instagrams.
Yeah, Instagram. So the costume consultant is my business one. And if anybody wants to find anybody on this panel, I have tagged them in the post about today's show. So you can find them quick there. My other kind of work / personal one is LK Styles. I post a lot of my travel stuff or my movie stuff. The costume consultant, I really try to share information about the business and highlight other costume people and also different events that are going on in different cities. I'm trying to unify the community and share information.
Ben, I think you're on Instagram, but I think it's private, right?
I was just gonna say you probably can't find me on the internet.
I found you because of Lindsay, but yes, where do you hang out, or don't you?
I hang out in my house offline, and it's been something to work on
I don't blame
lately.
you.
And truly, it's been fantastic being off of the internet. But no, professionally, I suppose IMDb, and I will be trying to ramp up my Instagram. And I also recently created my own business that's called Thimble and Bone. So that's going to be a place that you can find me either on Instagram or online.
Love it.
I
And
love
Susan?
that name.
It's
Thank you.
amazing.
For me, I'm on Instagram, Susan Kyla, Kyla, costumer, on Instagram, and then just also IMDb.
And I've got links to that, everyone, down in the chat, by the way, except for Ben. I'll have to get once you have your website up, we'll add it. Okay. Well, anyway, because we've gone over, but I have to tell you, I so much appreciate everybody spending an hour plus with us today. And for everyone who came out, I really appreciate it. All Eyes on Me. So they actually have 2 kits, 2-tier rolling kit and 1 clear crossbody for on set.
Yes, I have. Well,
And Michelle said that she likes those heart-shaped makeup sponges. So anyway, so I want to thank, first off, I want to thank our panel, our lovely panel. Imogene had to pop off because she has plans. But also I want to thank my co-moderator, Lindsay Keir. She works so much behind the scenes getting this together. I want to thank her so much. And we're going to do more things together as well. And if you guys, I hope that we can maybe do this again. And if you are willing, I'd love to have all of you back. Whoever wants to come is welcome, because this is also a great way for you to share things with each other.
For sure.
So thanks, everyone.
yes, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, all. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Y'all.
Bye, everyone.